This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Kathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started. Hello, I'm Kathy Worthington. Welcome to Late Boomers. Today we have as our special guest, Lisa Crosta, who is a certified financial planner and director of wealth management at BPP Wealth Solutions, an all-female investment firm. She's also a certified public accountant.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Having gone through a divorce and raising 3 kids on her own, Lisa's mission is to help other women who find themselves in tough situations and empower them to make important financial decisions and better understand their financial picture so they can achieve their dreams. Also, in her spare time, Lisa balances her work and leisure by renovating homes, skiing, playing pickleball, cooking, and spending time with her son and 2 daughters. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello. Nice to see you ladies today.
You too.
Please tell us, Lisa, about your background and how your experience led you to the career and the personal paths that you are on today.
Yeah. I went to college as a business major. Seemed logical. I liked math. And kind of always had a dream of having my own business. And after I left college, I worked for a couple of years trying to figure out what to do. And I had a vision to work with individuals rather than to work in a big company. I always felt like I would be a cog in a wheel in a big company. I know it's great for certain people, but it wasn't what I wanted. So I was trying to figure out how to do that. So I went to graduate school and took the classes that I needed to take to get my CPA. Because to take the CPA, you need a certain amount of classes. And although I went to business school for college, I didn't have all those classes. So I got my MBA in accounting, took my CPA with the goal of how can I use this to work with people. Ended up going to a big firm, to Ernst & Young, because I just couldn't turn down. It was a great opportunity, but got myself quickly into tax and then financial planning departments. So was able to, manage to get starting, a long time ago, working with individuals. And I really liked it. And tax is a great background when you end up as a financial planner too, because it's good knowledge to have. And so I was there for about 8 years. And then I left to have my kids. I had my first daughter and I worked part-time for a little bit. And then having a second, I just decided it was too much in the public accounting world. So I stayed home for about 10 years with my 3 kids. So I have a daughter and 2 sons. And when I got divorced, it was not really planned. You don't really plan these things.
Yeah.
I was like, I had been doing a few side gigs, but nothing that was substantial. And I was like, I got to get back and I got to figure this out. So I was like, well, I have my CPA. I always kept the license in an inactive state, as I call it, but kept it. So how can I get back into the field of planning? So I ended up getting a job. And I like to tell this story because I guess women don't do this very much. They were looking for somebody with a certified financial planner license, a Series 7, which is one of the securities licenses, and a life and health insurance license. And I didn't have any of them. And I got the interview and I talked my way into the job. I had my CPA, which is, a good thing. And I said, I'll get all of them. Just give me a year. I'll do it quickly. And so they were great. They hired me and I got all my licenses. I think it took a year and a half to get all of them. And my 7, my 66, my life, my health, my CFP, and, was off to the races for the small financial planning department in this larger firm with about 50 advisors. So it was great. And I worked with so many different personalities, different advisors have different types of clients and, everybody from, we used to collect expenses from clients, when we do a financial plan. And sometimes I wasn't sure if the number was an annual number or a monthly number. I mean, everybody is so different.
That's weird.
But it was phenomenal experience. But then after about 5 years, I moved to the firm I'm at now because I wanted to try to have some ownership and own my clients more and just be more personally involved in running the business. So we're at a small registered investment advisor. That's what our firms are called. where we have, we work one-on-one with clients, every day. It's, what we do all day, and we do planning. So I always say we lead with planning. A lot of people will call themselves investment advisors, financial advisors. We're all those things, but we lead with planning, which means that before we can tell you what to do with your investments, or if you need insurance or estate planning documents, we have to put all your stuff together in a financial plan. And what that means is we look at all your income sources, all your expenses, all your assets, and all your liabilities. So what you own, what you owe, what you make, and what you spend, in other words, and, put it all together, because without that, it's kind of confusing. You can't tell if you're on track for what you want to do if you don't know where you are. So sometimes it's a little scary for people to do that. And I was on a call with a prospect today, and, she was like, I know I have to get my head out of the sand and look at these numbers. And she is actually someone who's about to get divorced. So she has to do it. But, she's afraid to do it. But this is where we help our clients hold their hands, get them through it, and be like, look, this is where you are. If you want to get here, this is what you need to do, or you're in great shape, whatever it is they're trying to achieve. And everybody is completely different.
Yeah, right. And it's the step that a lot of people don't take, that planning step.
It's a tough step. I ran into someone today at a women's event that I talked to about 6 months ago. And I said to her, I don't want to bother you, but I'm just curious why you never moved forward. She said, no reason. She couldn't get herself to do it. Like, it wasn't the fee. It wasn't that she went with anybody else. It was just, I have to get my act together. So it's hard.
Yeah.
Psychologically.
Well, you're talking about this woman about to get a divorce, and obviously you went through it and you had to restructure everything, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So talk about the importance of restructuring your own and family finances in the wake of divorce, or even other life-changing situations.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's, you have to, the thing that is most important is that cash flow. So every month, where are you? I could not survive, without a job. So I knew very quickly I was going back to work, and I started with a smaller job, before I moved on to a full-time job. But if you get an idea, and we do this with clients, what do you need to make? What do you need to make and we have clients on both sides. This client today was going to have to pay alimony. So once she pays her alimony, what's left for her? And is that adding, and her goal was retirement primarily. Is that adding enough to your retirement to get you where you want to be? It's also really good when you're going into a divorce to know what you can afford to pay or what you should be asking for. There's the guidelines that the court set, but you want to know your own situation, because the minimums are pretty low. From what I've seen, every state's a little bit different. But, we've had women who had to pay, and they really want to know if this is what the court says, is it going to work? And they can call us and be like, this is the number. They play around. Okay, this number works, but you have to work 3 years longer. Or, this number works, but you got to ask for a raise. Everybody's so different, but it's when you can see what's coming in and out and look at it on a monthly basis, because most people look monthly, not, annually. You can really make some good decisions. If you have to give your assets, because of a divorce, it's okay. These assets are gone. We literally move them out of the plan. Your new assets, this is how long it's going to take to replenish, or for whatever you're trying to achieve. There's often a house to sell, with a lot of divorces. And can you buy out your spouse? Like, we can run those numbers. You buy the spouse out. This is the interest rate you get. This is what's going to cost you. Okay. It doesn't work, or it does work. And if it doesn't work, what does work? Can you find a house with the money you're going to sell for? We'll put the taxes in there, do all the calculations of a sale transaction, say, okay, this is what you're going to be left with. We want to get you to a mortgage that you can afford. And we can do all the calculations and figure out what they're comfortable with, what they can afford to do.
And that's something you do with them or for them?
Oh,
that's
yeah.
great.
I mean, once we get the plan built, we can ask any question. Once we get the basic information in there, all those things, income, expenses, assets, and liabilities.
Are you finding that more and more women have to pay alimony? Because that's not the standard thing you hear about.
It's not.
Is that happening?
This is the second woman in 2 years that had to pay. The other woman had to pay child support. So we've had a few good business women. They have good businesses.
Yeah.
But, I also had a woman that was about, I think she was maybe her late 50s. Her youngest was just finishing college. And she wasn't sure if she could get alimony, but she didn't want it. She knew there was a good amount of assets. She wanted half the assets. She said, if I get half the assets, can you show me what I need to do? So that's what we did. We put half his assets in her plan. he was selling the house and he was just giving her half the value of the house. We put that in, and then we put her salary in. She was working part-time. And I said, okay, you can do this, but you got to go full-time. You have to now I'm making this up, 100,000 a year instead of 70,000 a year. She's like, I can do that. They want me to do it. I'm like, well, if you do that, and these are your expenses, your kids are done with college, you're not supporting them, you can do this, So she did not want to fight for alimony. She knew it would be a battle. She was already 60. So we showed her how, and we showed her how it worked, It was her decision what she wanted. So we just showed her how the numbers worked.
Well, what about those women who really had their men take care of them? It's old school, but what about those women who don't even know how to write a check, which nobody's doing anymore? But I mean,
know they're not.
Or how to pay a bill.
But what about them? I mean, how do you advise them, because they don't have a clue about their financial situation?
Again, we start with what they own, and we have to get people to give me statements, because I can't tell you how many times somebody says to me, well, I have an IRA, or I have a this, and that's not what it is. I get it. And it's an inherited IRA, or it's a 401k, or it's just a regular brokerage account. And it kind of doesn't mean anything to them, but it means a lot to us. They're all taxed differently. Is it a Roth? Is it a SEP? They all have different rules. So my first thing is, you guys got to get the statements. And I did a seminar last summer for women, and it was titled, not very catchy, but what every woman needs to know for their financial and legal security. And I did it with a divorce attorney. But one of the big things we did was talk about the titling of accounts. And if you do think you're going to get divorced, get those statements now. Like, don't wait. Even if because it could be smooth, but it might not. Get those statements.
Yes, some people are probably locked out of those statements because they don't have the passwords.
Well, 401ks are supposed to come in the mail once a year. They changed. They made a rule for that because people were losing them all the time. But a lot of, if there's any joint accounts, you should be able to get access to it. You may not be able to get access to a spouse's 401k, but it's nice to. I did two things in that seminar. One, we talked about looking through statements, anything that comes in the mail, but we talked about the importance of a tax return. Outside of retirement accounts, you could find everything from a tax return. If you get dividends or interest from any accounts, that account is listed on your tax return. So we talked about how to read certain aspects of the tax return and use them to figure out what you have. And this is, of course, if a divorce is not friendly. Sometimes, they're easy. They're not all where someone's trying to hide assets, but you must get your tax return, and you are entitled to that if it's a joint tax return. Nobody can and you can also get it from the IRS if you need to. But your tax return is a treasure trove of information, from where your money is to what income's coming in. So I actually did like a 20-minute segment in the workshop about what to read on a tax return, like what's important.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Because the stats for women that are, there's so many women, we end up alone, right? Men die first. There's gray divorce and there's less marriage. So you got to at one point learn how to read stuff, and and we make education a big part of what we do. We have one of our older clients in her 80s coming in next week without her husband, just to go over again, this is where your accounts are. This is how they're titled. This is what happens when you pass. Like, we have everything laid out to just go over with her again. The husband knows, but
good. Because I wanted to ask about what the importance is of having a financial plan, and at what age one needs to begin investing for the future. First,
well, you should begin investing.
Yeah.
I'd say the day you get your first job.
Oh, okay.
The day you get, it's hard to invest when you're not working, right? So the day you get your first job, I would say, like, my kids know the day they have their first job, they have to start investing. Really, I mean, it's the value of time is incredible. Incredible. Right. And my one college age son already opened his Roth IRA. He had some extra money from graduation money, and he put $1,000 in his Roth IRA. I was like, yes.
Good. Well, he's following in your footsteps. He's listening to what he's hearing around the house.
We talk a lot about money around here.
I bet you do.
So that's all part of a financial plan. But what is the importance of having this financial plan for most people?
So, it's twofold. So when you're in the earlier stages of accumulation, so you're still working, right? It's giving you clarity on where you are and if you're on track to do what you want to do. And I don't know what that is. That could be retire at 80. It could be retire at 60. It could be buy a second home. It could be save enough money to pay for all my kids' first homes. I don't know. The goals are all over the place, but what do you have now, and can you achieve those goals? And if you can't, let's help you figure out how to do it. And obviously, for most people, retirement is a big question. What's that going to look like? when we flip the switch from saving, to spending. So the plan will start giving you clarity of where you are on track to meet your goals. And if not, how you can get there. And the goals are going to change. We almost never do a one and done plan. We do it the first year, but we got to keep going. Like I can't make decisions for you 5 years out. Right. So we're doing it every year. We're tweaking it. How did the investments perform? How did you get a raise at work? Did you change jobs? In the old days, did you refinance a mortgage? All those things are getting modified each year, and we're still tracking where you are. Then when you retire, it's very helpful to have a planner, because now how do you decide how to take your money out of those investment accounts? Do you just take, like, are you taking too much? Should you take them from this sleeve and not that sleeve? We have different strategies, different buckets, if you will. So we help a lot on the stage when you're now retired and you have to take money out. I'd say that's where we probably earn more of our money. We have more work to do.
Yeah.
Because you got to be smart about it.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you what a security income plan was. And also, you're talking about aligning your plans with your goals. So
yeah,
can you give us some more pointers on that you might give to your clients, or questions they need to ask themselves for both our audience and us?
Yeah. So I'll tell you. So a security income plan is what we call our financial plan. So we use a very robust software, but our security income plan follows our name. So the BPP stands for build, protect, and preserve. So building is the whole investment side of it. Are the investments in the right place? How are they doing? Watching them. Are they in the right accounts? The P is protecting. Do you have the right insurance? Is it going to last for what you want it for? Are the beneficiaries correct? And the P is preserve. Do you have a will, healthcare proxy, power of attorney? Do you need a trust? Does your state have estate taxes? In 2026, there's going to be huge changes to the estate tax laws. So there's a lot of planning to. So it's kind of like a continuous circle. We're always building, protecting, preserving. Whenever we talk to our clients, one call may have a focus, but that's the process that we always work on.
What's going to happen with the tax laws? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Don't lose the thought, but I'm curious.
Well, in 2025, all the tax law that went into effect in 2017 is going to sunset, they call it. So when they designed the law, it ends at the end of 2025. So all the tax brackets are going to change. All the estate tax is going to change from, we're at about 13 million a person now, back in half. It'll go back to the old number with inflation. Right. So I don't know it exactly, but it's about cut in half. The standard deductions are going to change. Everything. There are so many changes in 2017.
And they've already laid out what the changes are going to change to.
So the law was set that most everything in the law was sunsetting. Not every single.
Yeah.
It was I don't know how many page document, but many, many items to balance the budget. They set them to sunset, so disappear. So that means if Congress doesn't agree to change it, they go away. They go back to the old stuff. So the estate planning attorneys are they're going to have a year of full employment. We don't know what's going to happen because Congress could act, right?
Maybe by then.
Who knows? They can't agree on anything. So I don't know we don't know. So we're talking to our clients a lot about the biggest piece is the estate planning. You could, as a couple, you could have 26 million and it's going to be cut roughly in half after that.
Wow.
Before you pay estate tax federally. Huge numbers.
That's really different.
Yeah.
That's
different.
Drastic.
It's pretty different.
Well, maybe we'll see something happen in the Congress then to fix that.
You will see, or now that I mentioned it, you'll start seeing articles about it.
Yeah. We'll notice it now.
So you're talking about preserving. That would be for estate planning, or
really preserving the wealth for generations. Whatever you want to do. If preserving it for a charity, for your kids, for whoever you want the money for, but making sure it goes where you want it to go. There's those famous stories of who died with their will, their handwritten will they found in a sofa. Was that somebody famous? It was
like
a
Michael
singer.
Jackson.
Michael Jackson didn't have one. Prince didn't have one. All these people, and it's nice to be able to know where your money's going to go and all you worked hard for. I would think you'd want to be able to set that up while you're alive, and you can do that. You can't do it when you're dead.
Yeah.
And would you tell us also what is female communication in finance? And on a slightly different note, how did you do it all as a single mom?
I have a lot of energy.
I think that's two different questions, but
so what was the first one? What is female?
Female communication in finance.
I find that,
How is that different?
It's so interesting because a lot of times when we do a plan, it's the woman who calls first. They like understanding. We like understanding. We like talking about it, getting a feel for it. It's not just numbers on an envelope to us. And I hate to generalize. Yes, I am a numbers person, but I find that the women enjoy talking about it more, not being stigmatized by whatever the heck they're doing or spending, and being able to ask questions without being judged. Like people be like, this is a really dumb question. What's the difference between a SEP and a traditional IRA? I'm like, why is that a dumb question?
Not a dumb question.
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah.
Right. I have this great couple, they're doctors, and in the beginning, she would say that. I'm like, listen, I don't know how to operate on somebody. I don't know how to diagnose anything. You shouldn't know what I do. Like, we have different expertise. It's okay.
Yeah.
But letting people know it's okay to ask questions. I think that's the biggest thing we try to get across to our clients, and mostly the women, because they haven't been heard maybe in other financial relationships.
Yeah. And
so letting them know they can ask us.
Before you answer the other question, Kathy was interested in knowing about, tell our audience the difference.
The difference
between the IRA and SEP.
Well, when you save money, not everybody. You can put money into an IRA. It can be pre-tax dollars. It depends on your income, depends on a lot of factors. But a SEP IRA is a self-employment account, and it allows someone who has their own business, a self-employed person, to put away a much higher amount than a traditional IRA. And it's based on how much net income the business makes. And it's a calculation that we're not going to get into it. But it's a different calculation that allows you to put money as a SEP IRA than a traditional IRA. And it's much more the SEP if it's a profitable business. It's a great tool for self-employed people.
Yeah, absolutely. And answer the other question, please. How did you do it all?
As a single mom.
I don't know. I'd say my superpowers. I have a lot of energy. I don't know. My kids are good. I don't know. I don't micromanage them. I don't know if you guys know this, but all the schools have portals that you can get on and look at I don't do that. I don't get on and look at my kids. I don't make sure their homework's done. They knew they had to do it. I'd say, is your homework done? But I didn't micromanage. I didn't review their tests with them unless they wanted me to. But I also think that watching me take all those exams and going back to work seeped in. I was on the lacrosse field watching my kids play lacrosse, studying for my CFP. We were moving house when I was studying. Like, I was up late at night, I'm working. And I think the work ethic rubbed off on them. I think they saw it. And COVID, I worked so much during COVID. I also took a test during COVID, which was silly. So people are watching Netflix shows and I'm studying and working, and they saw it. So I think that helped a lot, having kids that knew what they were supposed to do and did it. And I don't know. I have a lot of energy. I don't get too tired, and I have a pretty optimistic attitude. It's going to get done. I'm a mad list writer. To me, it's the key to success is writing lists.
Oh, good. Because I write lists all the time. I'm glad that's the key to success. I have
a question that I ask when I interview people. Younger people we're hiring. I always ask them what they do at the end of the day. And if they say they write a list before they leave, I'm like, yes. Because to me, before you leave, you want to organize your brain, but you don't want to take it home. So I write a list for the next day or the week, whatever it may be, but leaving the day with that, especially on Fridays. So I kind of shut down on Fridays, writing that list. I'm like, okay, I know when I come back, I'll remember because it's written down, but I can go into my weekend and enjoy myself. I just think that's huge. And I don't procrastinate.
That's good. That's a good one. No procrastination.
Everything that can be done now, do it.
Yeah. So do you get the hardest tasks first or last?
I'm not one of those people who have that hard set rule. I know there's some people who are like, do the shortest ones first. I don't. I just do it. If I walk downstairs and I see something that I need to do, I try to just do it. Whether it's, putting the shoes away or switching the wash, rather than waiting 3 hours to do it. Just do it. It's easier, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Sorry, Kathy. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Great advice. So we are in kind of a volatile market these days. So What do you tell your clients on how to manage their finances during these types of markets, which don't look
Yeah.
like they're going to stop?
Yeah. Well, we do not invest for the short term. You'll never call us and hear us say, invest with us because we have the best returns, the latest, hottest thing. We are into long-term, very diversified investing. We partner with portfolio managers that are professionals that pick stocks or ETFs, depending on what portfolio you're in. And it's very much buy and hold. I mean, we let the managers make trades inside the portfolio. So say there's 30 stocks in this one portfolio, they'll make trades, but we don't call our clients every time a trade is made. We don't call them with the latest, hottest stock tip. We're investing for the long term. And I find when you lead with the financial plan and you can see what you want, it's okay if the market goes like this because you know what you have to do. And the plan itself, the literal software that we use is live, it's connected. So if you call me and say, oh my God, 2022, right? Terrible year, mid-year, and go, the market is so down. How do I look? I open up the plan. I'm like, well, in 20 years, you're going to have 50,000 less than we projected last week. Like it's, small movements when you're going out 20 years. So having the plan, it's amazing how people don't stress out. We got so few calls in 2022. Nobody pulled out their money. A few tweaks. We tweaked some things between bonds and stocks, but we didn't have any panicked phone calls because they know what their plan looks like.
Is the 4% rate still holding per drawing income for those people who are drawing income, or is it completely kaput?
No. So Michael Kitces, who's famous in my field of work, he's phenomenal. And he has a paper, and there's other people on the paper besides him. I think it's Wade Fowl, but I'm not sure. He has a paper on the sequence of risk returns and safe withdrawal rates. It's fabulous. I heard him just speak at a conference, but he goes back historically to which rates worked over time. And his studies, his paper, 4 and 5% still work. 6 can even work, but it doesn't have to be 3. I say to clients 4 and 5 looks fine. And we're going to tweak it too. You have good years, you can take a little bit more. You have bad years, and maybe you're going to take less. If you can build a diversified portfolio where you have some fixed income, you maybe have some Social Security, you have all these different pieces, you can weather the storms better. And I also think it is very important those initial years. So those first years of retirement, if those are down years and you don't have a ton, you have it just worked out nicely, those are down years. You have to be able to pull back a little bit, because if you withdraw and there's like 2 or 3 down years, which has only really happened in history a couple of times, early on, it really affects your success rate. So it's the timing.
And just to clarify, because I know what you and Mary are talking about, and I know what Mary asked when she asked the question, but I think some of our listeners may not understand what you're talking about. 4%, 5% of what?
So of your total portfolio assets, how much can you take out each year?
And this is what people want to take out to live on.
To live on. So if you take out 4% a year, according to Kitts' research, it's a very safe figure. 5% works. I think 5% worked in every single, he would do, I think he did 20-year increments. But yes, it's how much you can take of your portfolio out each year.
And that would very much depend on your age, wouldn't it?
Yeah, depends on your age, depends on how many assets you have when you retire, right?
Yeah.
But those first years, that's the crucial thing. And when the clients want to retire early, it's the only thing I point out to them. I said the only risk in your portfolio is if someone's making a substantial income, they retire early, and say they're making $300,000 a year and they've given up $1 million, say they 3 years early, $1 million. I said, you have to be aware that if we have an incredibly terrible market, you may need to rethink some of your spending. Mm-hmm. This is for somebody whose plan works, really nicely with like 4 or 5% and they don't have any cushion. But, once you get past those first, and even his research shows it, once you get past those first few years, you got some good returns on your big pot of money, right? Because you're in the beginning of retirement. If the bad returns come later, it doesn't matter because your portfolio is so much smaller. It's just really important in those early years. And I have one client I remember specifically that they spend a ton of money. He had a great job and he wanted to retire early. And I said to him, you can, but you work 1 or 2 more years, you're going to be so set. And he's like, I'm going to do it. He said, I don't hate my job. I'd rather put in a couple more years and get really comfortable than push it. So
that's good. Good advice. And I was going to ask you to talk about a little bit more estate and retirement planning. What's your advice for people looking to retire in the next 5 or 10 years?
well, save as much as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're set, you got a few million in the bank, unless you're set, but save. I mean, it's just the power of time and compounding is tremendous. And if you haven't saved enough for, like, I lost a lot of years from not working, so I'm trying to play catch up. But you have to put the money aside, and there's no better way than saving with every paycheck. So if you don't have access to a 401k or a 403b at work, you should every month pay yourself, from your bank account to your savings account or to wherever it's going.
How much would you say they should take out and save of their salary?
It depends if they're playing. I mean, if they're just doing their, the most you can put in a 401k last year was 20,500. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. If you're under 50, and then it's a little bit higher if you're over 50. So we always try to get people to max out, and that's always our goal. But if you're saving 20%, that's a phenomenal rate. Not most people don't do that, but that's a good number. That's a really good number. But I say to people, if you're at 10, bump it up to 12, because you'll barely notice it, because you're going to save taxes on that extra 2% you put in. So maybe it's only going to feel like 11%. And if you can do it slowly, it's easier and you don't feel it as much.
Yeah. Like your son investing his first $1,000. That's going to compound. How old is your son?
Compound. He's 19.
Oh, good for him.
It's going to compound very nicely.
I know. But it's funny. He put it in at the end of 2021. So it went straight down first. He's like, I don't care. I'm like, you're fine. You got a lot of years left.
But how do you manage clients' finances differently when they're in retirement versus when they were younger?
Yeah, I mean, we may tweak the allocation a little bit between stocks and bonds, and certain asset classes are more aggressive, like a small company portfolio is a little more aggressive than an S&P, than the big companies. Just by nature, right? A huge company is a little more stable than a small startup. So we may have more of the big companies, more of the dividend paying companies in a portfolio for somebody who's in retirement, because we want to generate a little more income. And we may have a little more bonds. So we may tweak the allocation to be a little bit more fixed income. But it's, there was a time where they used to say, you take your age, 100 minus your age, and that should be your balance between fixed income and equity. And it's kind of an old adage, because you don't live in retirement for 1 year. People are living in retirement for 25 years. So it's not like you retire and flip the whole portfolio to conservative, because you have to make it last. So it's a balancing act, right? How much do they have? How much are they spending? But we do start to get a little more conservative as we're taking money out. And we'll selectively take, a certain amount from fixed income, a certain amount maybe from the dividends, and then do some rebalancing. If they have some more aggressive stocks that did well, we'll pull some money out of that, like take some gains out. And so we kind of tweak it a lot. But we also do frequently, not always, but we will put all the cash for 1 year. We'll pull it out and put it in a cash account. So for 12 months, their cash is there. And then we replenish over the course of the year. So if there is a bad few months, we're not pulling money out, or a bad year, we've got it set. So we use that approach too.
Good. That's interesting. Do you use algorithms at all, or do you basically do this? You don't.
No. So remember, we have portfolio, and we have the CFAs building our portfolios. So that is a full-time job, picking stocks. I do not proclaim to do that. I don't have time to do that. I'm talking to clients all the time about their cash flows and their, what house they're buying and, what interest rates, whatever. I don't have time to pick a stock. They say it takes 40 hours a week to pick one stock.
Ooh.
So a CFA is a chartered financial analyst. They've taken very rigorous tests. That's who builds our portfolios. They study the cash flows of the companies. They talk to the management. They get on the analyst calls. That's their job. I will never pick my clients' portfolios. It's too much work. You want a specialist to do it, right? You go to a dentist, a podiatrist, what are they called? Periodontist for the gums. You got to go to the specialist.
Yeah.
It's too time consuming.
Very true.
Yeah.
Can you share a few of the success stories you've had with clients with us?
So I laugh. There's 3 of these. I have 3 clients and then I'll give you a more specific one, that after we did a plan, either quit their job. And they were all women. 2 were single women, like in their 60s, and they didn't like their job. They had saved a ton of money. They didn't have children, and they didn't want to work anymore, but they didn't know. So we came in, they did a plan. We put in the most conservative estimates for returns. We put the highest expenses we could put in. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to run out of money. And both women left the meeting and called me like the next day and quit their jobs.
Wow.
I cracked up because when they came in like 3 months later, I said to the woman, man, you have a hop in your step when you come in. She's loving it. It's what they wanted. It's not for everybody, but they knew they could do it. And then it allowed them to do it. I have another female client that was a doctor that really disliked her job and was working her butt off and was able to cut back for a year and find a new job. But she was comfortable with everything to be able to know she could do it. Her husband was working, her kids were going to school and all that. But we showed how, okay, I'm literally going to take your salary out for a year. Let's look what your plan looks like. And then let's put in a lower salary because say you get something you like, but it pays less. So let's put something in at this rate and look what your plan looked like. And she's like, okay, I can do it. And she did. And she found a job she loves, but she was able to quit and take her time to do it.
Completely changed careers.
She's still in medical, but she's just not at all in the same type of thing she was before,
Mm-hmm.
The founder of our company wrote a book called From Chaos to Joy, and she's got 4 good stories in there. Those are all women. One is somebody whose husband died. One was a divorce. I don't remember all the stories, but they're all personal and really interesting stories. Names changed and everything of stories of women that we helped along the way. We help men too.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
We do help men, and we have lots of men clients. And we have a few clients. We don't see pensions too much these days, but I have 2 clients that I'm working with. We're trying to figure out how to plan the pension because both have spouses, and both spouses are vastly different in age, like over 10 years. So do you take less for the spouse whose job it was so that the younger spouse gets more? That's how it works. Most of them, you can give up some of yours so your spouse gets more, or you can take more and your spouse gets less. And it gets tricky when the ages are that different. So we did a lot of calculations. Okay, if you took the more and you died, what's it going to look like? And should we buy insurance to replace that? And it's a decision. There's a term for it, pension. I forget the name of it. When you use insurance to replace pensions. And sometimes it made a lot of sense. Sometimes the client's too old and the insurance is too expensive. So we showed them the numbers all different ways. This is with 100% to your spouse. This is with 75. This is with 50. This is if you die here and there. And, we don't have a crystal ball, but we can make really good decisions and play with the numbers and help them decide what to do with the pensions. Because those are permanent decisions. You leave your job, you got to decide what you're taking.
That's interesting.
And they're great problems to have because not too many people have pensions. So it's really nice to do with them.
Yeah, great. Lisa, what would you like our audience to have as a takeaway today?
Don't be afraid to look at your finances and don't be afraid to ask questions. And clarity gives you so much comfort and ease. So it's good. It's good for everyone to do. And it's what I also say to people, we have advisors for lots of things. We hire lawyers when we need them and tax accountants. It makes sense to have a financial advisor. The world's complicated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So true. That's great. Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm sure there's more we can all learn from you in the future and to actually think time to go and check out our finances and save. So thank you so much. Our guest today on Late Boomers has been Lisa Crosta, Certified Financial Planner and Director of Wealth Management at BPP Wealth Solutions, CPA and a CPA. You can reach Lisa at LinkedIn and on the BPP website, which is basically, can you tell us what BPP stands for again?
Build, Protect, and Preserve.
.com.
The website is BPP Wealth. BPP Wealth is the website.
BPPwealth.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies.
And we so much appreciate our listeners, and we ask all of you listeners to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Late Boomers Podcast, and also subscribe on the platform where you listen to your podcasts. We love your support. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review. And we always like to hear from you, either on Instagram, @I am Kathy Worthington and @I am Mary Elkins and @Late Boomers, or on our website, lateboomers.biz, B-I-Z. Our goal is always to inspire and energize you. Thanks again, Lisa.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.biz. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.